I own a lot of books, and I also haven't read a lot of them. I want my library to be filled of my favorite stories, but if I haven't even read them, I don't even know if I like them, let alone love them. Each video, I will read books that have been on my shelves since before the start of this year. Most of these books I've had since 2020 and 2021, when I first started my reading journey, and I've been looking at these titles for so long, it's time to start prioritizing them. Welcome to the Page by Page project, where I slowly work through my physical TBR to find my next favorite book hidden within my shelves. Welcome back to the Page by Page project, where I own way too many books and am desperately trying to get through my never-ending TBR. The major way that I'm tracking this challenge is I have a page in my journal for the Page by Page project where every time I read a book, I've been coloring in the spine of the book. These are all of the books I physically own that I have not read, which is crazy. I think we're down to like 140 something. Why am I guessing? I could just get the number. Please hold. Okay, currently we have 141 books unread on my shelves. That is an insane number and kind of makes me want to cry. That's a scary number, and I will say that one thing I'm noticing with this challenge is because, so now that I'm actually choosing books off of my shelves, there are a lot of things that I really want to read. And because of that, I am sometimes having an issue I'm having an issue choosing which books to read, which seems incredibly silly considering that I'm not lacking options, but I have so many options that I'm getting a bit of like choice fatigue. So, that's another aspect of this challenge, but what are we doing today? So, typically for these videos, I like to do a little reading vlog where I give updates throughout reading the books. Full transparency, that's not what this is. It's been a week. It's been an awful week. So I did not record any reading updates. I've been reading a lot, but have not recorded a single update. Sometimes life happens, and sometimes you randomly sprain your wrist and just sit in pain for days. So, we're just gonna keep going. And instead of giving my usual reading vlog for this series, and I say usual as if this isn't just episode 2, we're gonna do a little wrap up of the last 3 books that I read for this challenge, because I have a lot of thoughts. So many, and I need to share them with someone. So we're going to do a wrap up instead, which is going to be fun. I will even go in the order that I read them. I have my reading journal right here so I can remember what my thoughts were as I read them. This is why I love this thing. I'm ready to go. So I read 3 books that were going to be a part of this video, that were going to be part of the reading vlog, and then the reading vlog never happened. So we're just going to talk about the books. It's going to be a bit of a yap session, but is anyone complaining? I hope not. I like yapping. The main part of this book channel is going to be yapping. So if you like that kind of content, please make sure to like and subscribe for so much more bookish yapping. You know what? Honestly, I hated this book. It could fall off. It's fine. Let's just dive into this thing. Book number 1. I'm calling it here. I think this is my favorite book of the month. That's just a prediction. The month's not over. So I'm currently Filming this on the 21st. So there are still 7 days of the month. There's still a week. Something else could take its place. But I think Legends and Lattes is going to be my best book of the month. My favorite book of the month. This was absolute perfection. Now, what is this book? Here we have Viv, who is an orc. She is a orc who is hanging up her sword after years and years of fighting and being a mercenary and taking odd jobs to hunt people, kind of like a bounty hunter, whatever. She is tired of the idea that she's going to just keep working until one day she accidentally dies. She's gonna get hurt. She's gonna be killed. And then that's when her life is gonna be over. Instead, she has a dream of opening up a coffee shop. In this world, we have that coffee is a new invention by gnomes. And she is introducing coffee to the people of the small town that she decided to inhabit. In it, we have some really fun things, such as people just referring to it as bean juice. We have a latte is known as bean juice with milk. We have a really cute little ratkin, who is like a mouse rat kind of little animal who is their chef, and he's so cute. He barely speaks, but when he does, it's like very like one word type of things, and he's obsessed with lattes and will just walk up with his little cup and go latte, and just beg for more and more caffeine as he's slowly getting addicted. So then we have Cal, who's a hob, who is the carpenter of the shop, and he brings in different inventions to make, like, say, the oven space cooler, and he pretty much like brings in his version of an exhaust fan, and he like rebuilds this old barn into her dream coffee shop. And then we have Tandri, who is a succubus. Yes, a succubus. I'm not good at saying that word. My fiance had quite a lot to say about how I was saying it because I was just adding random letters to it. But she's a succubus who is supposed to like lure men into being attracted to her, but joke's on them because she's actually a lesbian. So she is not using her succubus wiles to get them. And it is just a really cozy, slow burn romance where the romance is really not the plot of it, but it just is happening in the background between Viv and Tandri, and it's perfect. My favorite quote from it was, and I made a whole spread of it in my reading journal. This is a little preview of it, but I will be posting another journal wrap up at the end of the month like I did in February, but this is just one of the pages that I have for it. I think that I did amazing with my journal this month. But one of my favorite quotes is, "Things don't have to stay as they start out as," and that is just a theme that keeps coming up in Legends and Lattes, and it's so perfect, and I just love it so much, and this book just makes me so happy. This book was my introduction to cozy fantasy. I think I maybe read like one or two that are technically considered cozy fantasy in the past, but this is the first one that I went to knowing it was a cozy fantasy, and I loved it so much. I have been looking on how to get more cozy fantasy onto my TBR as soon as I read this one, and there's just so many that look so good. I do have one other that's currently on my shelves that I really want to read soon. It's the problem. I really want to read everything soon, but I have The Teller of Small Fortunes, which I got as a book of the month because it looked so cozy. That I really want to read soon, so we shall see. I have a lot of books that I really want to read right now. I also have the Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is a cozy fantasy. I have that one. And that might be my only other... Oh, and then... Hello. And then I also just bought A Pirate's Life for Tea, which is the second in the Can't Spell Treason Without Tea series. That's actually called Tomes and Tea. That's the second book in Tomes and Tea. And I want to read that one soon because the third book is coming out in the beginning of March. If you're following along with what I'm saying about all these books, I think you can see why I'm having a little bit of choice fatigue, because everything just sounds so good and I'm in just such a reading mood. I haven't been able to really find anything to watch. So I've just been reading. But I feel like also I've been reading like multiple things at once because there's just so much that I want to read that I'm just getting like pieces of little bits of like different stories, and truly I don't mind reading that way. It is making it so that that I'm reading a lot before finishing a book and then finishing a bunch in quick succession. Like that's what happened this month, where I had 3 books. I finished 3 books within 2 days, but they were all at like 70% done. Which is also like a bit annoying to read that way because it's like just a big gap between starting books and finishing books, but I'm just enjoying what I'm reading. I'm gonna say that's the overall. I'm just enjoying what I'm reading, and I'm learning more about my taste. I never would have thought that like cozy fantasy was something that I enjoyed if I didn't try this book. Which I will say, like in terms of the page by page project, this is one of my like latest editions, right before my January 1st cutoff, because I did think that I would absolutely love this book. So I bought it in December, and I was right. So, you know, I think just the overall is that I am learning my taste, and like books that I'm buying later are absolutely things that I love, which is good. And it follows what I said in the last video about older books on my shelves are the ones that are being DNF'd or rated lower, and there's a reason that they've been sitting on my shelves for so long. So that being said, this book got 5 stars, and I think this is my favorite book for February, but you gotta watch my wrap up to confirm that, because we're not done, and I have quite a lot of plans for this last week of the month. Book number 2. This Ain't It, Chief. No. Mari McFarlane. Here are my thoughts. I have another book by her that I will be reading at some point. And if I don't like that book, then I'm going to say she's not the author for me. So I'm just gonna chalk this up to maybe I just didn't like this book. But I had some very specific complaints about it. And I will accompany this to an author that I really do not like, that I have grown to greatly dislike, as the internet has also grown to greatly dislike her and her books. And that is the one and only Colleen Hoover. Now, historically, I have read a lot of Colleen Hoover books. In 2021, my book club we called it a Cohoathon, where we read 8 books by Colleen Hoover in the span of 1 month. So I have read a lot of Colleen Hoover. So I think that I am in the position where I can say, honestly, that she has a very specific algorithm for writing books. And because of the algorithm, that is why a lot of people like her books. The way that her books go is that if you actually look at the story, not much happens. Between page 1 and about 85 to 90% of the book, it's pretty tame. It makes it feel exciting because it's just like people going about their regular lives. And then the last 10 to 15%, something happens. There is a gigantic spike, and it pulls on people's heartstrings right at the end of the book. And that how do I put this? That jump in adrenaline, in serotonin, in every like heart racing chemical is what makes people think that they enjoyed the book more than they did. That they had a huge reaction, a huge emotional reaction right at the end, and that is when people rate the books. However, if they were to sit, here's my theory, if they were to sit with their thoughts for a couple of days and then dissect the book, they would see that they actually didn't like the book, or that it would not be rated as high as they did. That is what I think happened here. The first, 85%, nothing happened. It was really boring. To be fair, I could have DNF'd this book, but it was just such an easy read that I figured I'll just continue it. Here we have two characters, Lucas and Georgina, and they were high school sweethearts. They dated for not even high school sweethearts. They dated for a couple of months in high school. They claimed that they were each other's first love. And then several years later, they run into each other again, and Lucas does not remember Georgina. And this whole time we're hearing about this incident that happened during their prom, or their senior formal, but we don't know what it is. We just hear tellings of it, and slowly throughout the book, she doesn't understand why he doesn't remember her, but he's giving little signs that he does remember her, but he's claiming that he doesn't, and he just wants to forget, and suddenly they're in this worker boss situation. And then at the very end, we find out what actually happened on the night of their senior prom. And it's traumatic. It is a very graphic story of SA that came truly out of nowhere, that even made me really uncomfortable and also really pulled out of the story. I truly was not expecting us to go in that direction. Nothing was happening in the book. So to suddenly be talking about super heavy topics when the whole book was really lighthearted and just about really about a writing contest where you told embarrassing stories of your life to try to get into this newspaper column type thing. It felt like it didn't fit, and it was the biggest plot of miscommunication ever. I understand that they first met in high school, that these two first met in high school, and that is a very immature age. So miscommunication is an understandable trope here. However, then they were 30, still dealing with this miscommunication that happened in high school. To the point where even instead of just discussing what happened, he just pretended that he never met her. No, thank you. It wasn't for me. I ended up giving this 2 stars, and that's being generous. It did get that emotional response that I was looking for, and if this was me, say, 2 years ago when I was first getting back into reading as an adult, that emotional response would have probably triggered about a 4-star. But now I've read enough and am able to discern writing algorithms enough that it feels like a cheap trick. that if you want me to feel something rather than writing an emotional story and showing that throughout the whole thing, I don't appreciate being just thrown trauma at the very end and claiming that that is a good writing style. These are all my opinions. Completely my opinions, completely my theory about how this type of writing is done. If you absolutely love this book, that's great. If you love this kind of style of writing, that's also great. It just doesn't sit right with me. I don't like being manipulated as a reader like that, and she has one more chance on my bookshelves, so I'm not gonna not read that book. But I just hope that book lives up better. I'm gonna not touch that book for a while. I mean, I have 140 other options. But eventually I will get to that book. And it will be just a second chance author, we'll call it. Maybe I'll do a video of second chance authors and giving authors one more shot. I do actually have one more Colleen Hoover book on this TBR. It fell through the cracks of me unhauling a bunch of books before starting this challenge. So now it's officially in the challenge because it's officially on this spread. It is actually, I know where it is. It's right there. It's Without Merit. So maybe she could be part of my give authors one more chance. I kind of hate that idea because I really don't want to read that book. We'll see. Maybe comment down below if you want me to do that. I could suffer through for you guys. If you want me to suffer, I could suffer. So comment down below. It won't take me long to finish that book. All her other books I've read in like 2 days. Why am I making these promises? Why am I doing this to myself? You know what? Maybe as I'm filming this, I have 41 subscribers. 41? 31. My subscriber count has grown pretty heavily, pretty quickly. I made a goal. I'm checking us. Yappin' look. I made a goal to get 100 subscribers by the end of 2025, and it is currently February. Oh, 41. Damn. Thank you guys. And I made a goal to get 100 by the end of the year because I started the year with 2 subscribers, which were my mom and my fiance. Love you guys. Thanks for being here. But yeah, so I appreciate all of you. I appreciate all of you being here and tuning in. So if you want me to suffer, I could do a 100 subscriber milestone video of giving authors second chances. I don't want to do that. We'll figure it out. My other idea was to do a 24-hour readathon when I hit 100 subscribers. That's also torture. It's fine. It's fine. I like you guys. So I'll be in pain for you. I'll be in pain for you. Just hit that subscribe button so I could be in pain sooner rather than later. That being said, we are reviewing a book. 2 stars. I'm unhauling this if it wasn't clear. I don't want this on my shelves. So moving on. Book number 3. We're ending on a high. I love Catherine Center. Can this be a love letter to Catherine Center? Maybe it will be. Dear Catherine Center, thank you for writing amazing books that go into emotionally difficult subjects correctly, and by making me feel so many things while reading. I gave this book 4 stars. This book was amazing. The beginning of my review literally just says, This book! Exclamation point. What is this book about? All right, so we have two writers, Emma and Charlie. I'm not good at people's names. I never remember people's names. I always have to look at them. I'm really sorry. But Emma and Charlie, they are two writers. Emma is the main caretaker for her dad, who has a lot of medical disabilities diagnoses. And she's his main caregiver. So her career has been put on pause because she's been taking care of her dad. Then she gets the opportunity to ghostwrite a rom-com for the Charlie Yates. Yates? Yes. The Charlie Yates, who is the writer of all things action. That is what he does. But now he's expected to write a rom-com in order to get his next action movie published. He can't write a rom-com. He doesn't even believe in love. Emma only writes rom-coms. She is the cheesiest rom-com writer there is. Her writing is really good. It's absolutely amazing. But because of taking care of her dad, she just hasn't been able to truly become the writer that everyone knows she can be. So she's given the opportunity to ghostwrite with Charlie Yates, who desperately needs help. Because, as Emma said, terrible, there needs to be a new word for terrible for what his book is. For what his screenplay currently is. Now, how do you convince a writer who doesn't believe in the rom-com genre and doesn't even believe in love? How do you teach that person how to write a rom-com? That is where we start this book. Charlie doesn't want to do this. Emma has no money and needs to do this for the money. She has her sister becomes her dad's caretaker. Her sister becomes her dad's caretaker. Caregiver or caretaker? They both mean the same thing, don't they? Wait, this is weird. Hold on. Because giver and taker are the opposite, but caregiver versus caretaker. English is weird because caregiving and caretaking, like a caregiver and a caretaker, are pretty much the same jobs, just caregiver refers to people and caretaker refers to... It says it refers to property, but they also provide physical and emotional support. But give and take are opposites. Oh, there's a Reddit on this. Why do caregiver and caretakers mean the same thing while give and take are opposites? Someone's response was, same reason why we park in the driveway and drive on the parkway. English evolved and takes words from many other languages with reckless abandon. And someone else just put English is dumb. Okay, well, alright, well, back on track. Emma has her sister being a caregiver to their father. So not only is she focused on trying to get this screenplay up and running and Charlie fighting against her on each point, also she's worried about her younger sister suddenly taking care of their dad, and if she misses a step, what will happen to his health and to him. And there's a lot of stress in Emma's life. Charlie, on the other hand, is also dealing with his own personal conflicts. His wife left him. He's suddenly in this huge house alone. He doesn't know how to cook or really take care of himself. And he just wants to get his action movie filmed and produced, he doesn't care about this rom-com. He's only doing this rom-com as a favor to get his action movie actually produced. So there's a lot of tension on both sides, and there's a lot of reasons that they're both in this. But hopefully they come together and create a pretty good movie called The Rom-Commers. This book was phenomenal. It touched on so many themes. So we do have things such as death of a family member, taking care of a family member. We discuss things like cancer and other medical treatments. There's fear of water and drowning. There's a lot of emotionally heavy things. So if you're interested in this book, please go look at the trigger warnings, because if you're not prepared, it can be emotionally draining and possibly harmful, and I never want that for someone. But I will say that while the themes are heavy and we talk about a lot of things, Katherine Center does a brilliant job discussing them and does it with such grace. She truly cares about these characters and what she's discussing, and it feels like they're real and nothing feels like a gimmick. So I love Katherine Center's writing. I cannot wait to read more books by her. I have 2 of them on my TBR right now, and I'm just so happy that I got to end with this book. That being said, I think we could call this episode of the Page by Page project, these are falling, a success. We had 2 books that were so good. This is easier. 2 books that were so good, and 1 book that is getting on hold immediately. I am truly loving this Page by Page project. It's really bringing me out of like my comfort zone in terms of books and just like grabbing books that have been on my shelves forever. This book has been on, I feel like, since 2020. These 2 are new. The ones that I really liked are newer, but this one has been on since 2020, and I just want to get through these books. I want to solidify my taste, and I like I'm enjoying confirming whether or not I like a book or not, and figuring out like, oh yeah, I knew. Yeah, I that felt right. So, anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching up until this point, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube things, and I will catch you in the next video.